Hi everyone, it's TTL back with another video for you. It's another case video as well. So, today it is the Lian Li 011 Air Mini. Now this is going to be RRPing at 109 in the UK and 119 in the US. It's a small form factor, but QB sort of case, but it's full size ATX. It's not that much taller than an actual ATX motherboard. And the layout is actually kind of nice, but we need to save the details for the main meat of the review. Tempered glass side panel though, lots of air perforations all the way around the case, available in a range of colours, but thankfully they thought ahead and sent me the white one. Now, don't go getting confused, but this is actually the top of the case. And I've just tipped it over so that I can show you what's going on easier. So we have a power button down here. You can have the hard drive activity light in there as well if you wanted. It's all in there. A couple of USB 3s, which are nice that they've made them white so it doesn't stand out with the blue. And you do get USB-C in there as well, which is rather nice. You can see that we do have the meshed panel, very fine perforated mesh. And then if you pop that off, a couple of thumb screws, slide it out, it's actually really easy. You can see that there are a range of fan options. Now the 140 would go to the outside and you've got the 120. So the 120 is a little bit offset, but not by a great amount. You could get some reasonable radiators in there if you had short memory, but it's going to very much depend on your water cooling prowess to get the case and then eyeball things. They don't actually suggest radiators in the roof, but I can promise you that when we zoom in, you can see the memory here, and it's going to be awfully close, but with the LPX Corsair, if you had a rad here, you would just skim down it. But they only say to fit fans in the roof in the current configuration, because the case is actually kind of funky in that you can move things around if you want, but I'll cover that in a bit. The front panel is nice and plain, but not in a bad and boring way. It's just kind of nice and understated. The powder coating's been done very well, even though that the holes in the front panel are quite fine. I've looked and I've not even found a clogged one. And if you're an engineer, you'll know exactly what I'm on about. And nestled behind this are two white 140mm fans. The front panel does have a dust filter in it, and it is possible to take it off, but it involves some screws. It's not very swift. I'm not going to say it's not easy, but it's not just a couple of screws and I can pull it off. There's 1, 2, 3, I think there's 6 in total, and then you have to slide it up, and you do it when the top panel's off. So I'm not going to bother doing that. I will leave that with you for the bit. Round the back. So, round here. This section up here is for a couple of 3.5-inch mechanical hard drives. You can put smaller ones in there if you want, but that's what it's designed for, and you can literally get to them here. Bish, bash, bosh. And obviously because of this, there is going to be some natural ventilation, but not necessarily anything active around there. But it's there for those of you that want it. 120mm fan. You can move this up and down. To get to the screws for the expansion slots, what you need to do is undo the screws on the side, like so, and then you can see that gives you access down here. But what you can also do, this is in what is called its 7-slot mode, which is your normal ATX kind of layout. Well, normal ATX layout. But you can pop a couple of these off at the bottom, undo the screws, and then move the whole motherboard section down. And effectively what you do is you end up with this panel at the top and the rest of it further down, and then it goes into an MATX mode. But one of the things I'll say is the only reason why I can see you'd want to do that would be if you wanted a fat radiator in the roof. But if you wanted a fat radiator in the roof and you've only got a single graphics card, then you could actually still have a fat radiator in the bottom, because there are mounts in the bottom. There's a dust filter as well if you wanted to have it as an intake, but you could run it as an exhaust. It would be a bit back to front, but you could do. And like I have said, it's technically with the 120s in the roof, if you were to run an AIO, you can fit that in there anyway. So there is options, and do you know what I mean? You can move stuff around. I can't help but think that personally, if I had an MATX case, I would leave it in this config and run stuff in the bottom, or maybe skinnier ones in the roof. Although, look, I cannot stress enough, they do only say fans in the roof, but I think that is a little conservative, and you would be able to get brave. Now, round the back, woohoo! You can see the DeBauer logo, because Lian Li do a lot with DeBauer, and you can understand why, because a man does know his salt. So these two panels here, more hard drive mounts. You can put 3.5s around there, you can put all sorts around there, but most importantly, before we go to the other side, these can be removed. And these can be removed because if you have a look here, there is a mesh panel here which lines up with this. So lovely. There's also a mesh panel here so that you get air for your power supply, and you can get some normal current that will come through to help cool your mechanicals. This panel here in the middle, you can put a couple of 2.5-inch hard drives on if you want, obviously solid state drives. But this thing, for me, main reason why I like it is it's hidden all the cables, because all my power supply cables are all behind here and you can't really see them, and it's actually done in a really nice way because it's an absolute mess behind there, but you can't see that it's an absolute mess. If you had 2.5-inch solid state drives, they would have to, well, you could get one this side. I think I'd still probably go around the back with it though. And, oh, there is a screw at the bottom. I do apologise. This is what I should have done off camera, but, you know, we'll show you. There you go. See, look, there is a lot of mess back there. So it's done a really nice job of hiding it, and if we don't put the screw back in the bottom, then you can see how easy it is to cover it all up. I think if I was going to be doing this long term and not putting solid state drives on, I'd probably put some plastic card over these to tidy the lines up, but it's not like you can see it anyway. I also think it's a bit of a shame that they've hidden the DeBauer badge round the back where you're not really going to see it. But there we go, all screwed on, all lovely bubbly, happy as Larry. It's at this point we have to try taking the side panel off. And Lian Li's way of doing it is you have to remove the roof first, and then it quite literally just lifts out, which is lovely and easy, but it's just got that extra stage to it. Now, tempered glass side panel, lovely, not a tint on it, nice white strip around the outside to hide the metal framing, we'll call it, and then that exposes the inside of the case. Like I said, in the front, 240mm white fans, they come with it. In the back, 120mm white fan also comes with it. That's it. I did say to you about the round the side, those removable panels. Now those removable panels are there, and you can see that we have mounts for 120mm fans. Now if you were to have 120mm fans in there, then obviously they'll bolt up all lovely, but you can obviously bang a radiator in there if you want as well. Now if you did want to do the radiator and you didn't want these in there, they can actually come out. So you do and can customize this a fair bit. But if you remove the bracketry for these front fans, then there is no other fan mount hidden behind it. So it's kind of one or the other. If you did take them out, then you can use this whole section for a radiator. If you didn't take them out and you wanted to leave them in there as well, including the fans, there is 60mm of room. So if a fan is 25mm, that's going to give you 35mm for a radiator, so a skinny rad down the side, or if you pull these out, you can go full fat and you can do whatever you like. In the bottom, there is also more mounts, 140mm and 120mm mounts down in the bottom for a pair of fans, no more than a pair, same as the side, a pair, same as the front, pair, same as the roof. You can actually, in the roof, just about fit 360 in if you want. If you want to fit a 360 in though with a radiator and stuff, again, these are going to need to come down. So there are a lot of things that, like little caveats that you're going to need to remember. In the roof though, if you're just going for fans, you haven't got a problem. It's when you start adding rads. In the bottom, there's not enough room for a 360 radiator unless you want to get busy with your Dremel. It's designed for a 240 or a 280 maximum, like I said, unless you want to get creative. I think that's one of the reasons why they give you the option, if you're going to go MATX case, to move it down, and then you can actually have a bigger radiator in the roof. If you went bigger radiator in the roof and moved everything down, got rid of these, you could use these as the intake and actually have another radiator in there as well. So you could have a 360 and a 240 in this if you wanted. So lots of options. One of the only things that I don't like, in case you've not noticed it already, are the fan cables. So with the fan cables, there's nowhere really to put them. And I think it would have been nice if they'd been routed and the cables themselves were actually longer, and then they could have gone round the back, just so that they were out the way. There's no obvious routing point to be able to put them. You can go over in the top right hand corner, which I'm going to have to move the camera for. Look, if you look at the top, you can see there's a hole in the top, but then the cables aren't quite long enough, so it means you need extensions. So there are options, but I think they could have made it a bit easier, maybe. They're going to probably scream at me and be like, that's where they're meant to go, Tom. But, you know, let's just try and make things a bit easier. It would have been nice if there was a grommet there or something. They could have actually been routed there before they built it as well. So a couple of little, very minor things as far as the case is concerned. Lots of options, lots of places to put stuff. You just have to get brave, measure, have a think, but you can actually fit quite a lot in this if you wanted to. Now, the one thing that I have kind of missed before we move on are the grommets down the side. Now, those grommets down the side, as you can see, they come out the side here. If you have a shorter motherboard, so a narrower ATX, then the grommets actually come round and underneath this motherboard. Now it's going to say to you that you can't run an eATX board, because you can see the outside of the ATX board there runs on the outside of that corner point really nicely. But if you put an ATX in there, it's just going to overhang a bit, so I actually wouldn't worry about it. So my advice is, they might not say eATX, but I'd be happy to fit one in there because of the way the grommets come outside, and you're not going to have an issue too much at all. You can also see that we've got a grommet here and a grommet here. There's pass-throughs above the board, there's pass-throughs below the board, and if you're not an idiot like me and then shove your finger right up the RGB thing on the board, yeah, I'm bleeding. Ouchie. Okay then, so a lot of options. I don't mean to be confusing, I'm just trying to give you a lot of information. I'm also trying to give you little bits of advice with the roof and stuff as well. So if you're not sure, go back, watch it, write some notes down, and it will help you absorb it a little bit better. But I think, considering the size, the amount of things that you can do with it are really nice. I also think that after stabbing my finger on that RGB thing at the bottom, it's quite sore. So sympathies, please, in the bottom. Sympathies in the bottom, get an internet cookie, by the way, and obviously that means I come through and love all your comments later. So a cracking little case. 100 quid, £110, or 120 bucks, depending on where you are based. And I think it's well worth that money. The one thing I will say is, obviously it comes with 3 fans. By the time you've added in an AIO or put some of your own fans in the bottom as well, and I probably would put some fans definitely in the bottom if you're going air-cooled, 100% in the bottom if you're going air-cooled, mainly based on how well the fractile case I reviewed recently performed with lower airflow. So keep that in mind. If you are going air-cooled, couple of 140mm fans in the bottom, and then maybe add another 120 in the top or something, just to get the airflow in and going, and you will be absolutely loving it. I have got the thermal tests for you as well, and I've got the thermal tests because I do test things and I really stress things out. So we run the tests with the case fans at max, which for this is 1300 RPM, then a 1000 RPM run, then a 600 RPM run. And we do things very separately. So we do a gaming test, which is meant to be graphics card temperatures, and then we do a separate CPU only test as well. And if you think about the fact that we run them with the fans at sometimes 600 RPM, it's a very good way of really stressing things out, and also us being able to work out where cases fall down. Now at 600 RPM, the graphics card did suffer a bit, but 1000 and 1300 were fine. If you put extra fans in the bottom, you would be able to run 600 RPM setup and not necessarily have to even worry about spinning them up that much either, because most graphics cards will be absolutely fine once they've been fed from the bottom. So thermals were okay. They weren't the best. They were, you'd think because it's an air case, but if you think about it, the holes, although there's a lot of them, they are actually quite fine. Doesn't make noise though, which was quite pleasing. And the only thing I personally would say is I'd like to have seen some more dust filtering on the front. But OC3 approved award. It's our entry level award, but it's a good case. We would buy it. If someone said to you, do you think you should? We have no reason to say why not. It's a very nice little case with a lot of options and a great layout. And you can do a lot more with it than you would think based on its, in reality, it's quite compact size. So it does get the TTL thumb. So I'm quite happy with this one. Are you? Let me know. I would love to see your comments underneath. Don't forget, like, subscribe, comment, blow me kisses, send me internet cookies, all of the nice things. But for now, at least, this is the tiniest one out. Ding! Love you, sis.